Hello, Tar Heel Nation. Welcome back to another episode of UNC Hoops Talk. Thank you. It is actually the 50th episode. I can't believe it. The 50th episode of the podcast here. I'm so glad that you've chosen to listen, to watch, however you're taking it in. Big thank you from me. I am Dan DeWitt, the host here at UNC Hoops Talk. And kind of a sad week to be a Tar Heel fan. Obviously, we have the passing of Coach Smith, very sad. And then that leads into a loss at Pittsburgh, one that I of course, did not see coming. If you listen to last week's or 2 weeks ago podcast, I didn't do one last week. I guess maybe that's the jinx. I have to do a podcast every week, or jinx the Tar Heels. So I guess I'll take the blame for that. But yeah, very sad week. Ending with kind of a poor performance from the Tar Heels. And we'll hit on that. But of course, it's Duke week. I don't have to tell you guys that. You know that already. It's a big one. We are heading into Cameron. I know. Sorry. I'll try to beep out any time that I want to say Duke. Yeah, of course, we're going to spend most of the podcast talking about Duke. Can we beat them? Who's going to stop Okafor? Can we guard the three? What's wrong with the Tar Heels? Is there something in the locker room? Was it just the passing of Coach Smith that we had, we just kind of laid an egg at Pittsburgh? What has happened? What's going on going forward? We're going to hit all of that. But first, of course, we'll get into the two games that happened since the last podcast, Boston College and Pittsburgh, going 1-1 in those, of course. So that stuff you know already. We'll get a little bit deeper and try to do it briefly. First, I do want to say, if you aren't already connected with me, or if you want to get in touch with me, shoot a question, come on the podcast, suggest a topic or a guest for the podcast, I would greatly appreciate that. All the information about getting in touch with me, either on social media, email, any of that kind of stuff will be in the description of this video or the podcast, whatever it is. Read that description, hit me up, get connected with me as we unite Tar Heel Nation and try to cheer our Tar Heels on, and of course never jump off the bandwagon. So yeah, Boston College. This was 2 Saturdays ago. Seems like a long time ago. Kind of a blog game. We ended up winning by 11. I don't feel like it was ever that close. We got we got Joel Berry back for one. I believe he was even back the game before, but played 10 solid minutes in this one. We got back to 8 guys in double figure of minutes. We really just pounded it down inside. Bryce Johnson had 20 points, 10 rebounds, 5 of them offensive. Isaiah Hicks had 21 points. This was the first game, I guess, that Isaiah Hicks and Nate Britt started in the place of Kennedy Meeks and JP Tokoto. Again, that kind of is jumping ahead into kind of, what's wrong with the Tar Heels and is there a locker room problem or whatever. But JP, this game was okay. Shot 1 for 4 from the field, but was 7 for 8 from the free throw line. Had 9 points, 5 assists, no turnovers, 5 rebounds, played 29 minutes, seemed okay. Still kind of a blah game for him. We're definitely not seeing the highlights out of him, but a lot of other stuff that just doesn't seem there. He was supposed to be the defensive stopper, that kind of stuff. Kennedy did not respond quite as well, just 4 points in this game. But Hicks was so effective, shot 7 for 10. Was working his butt off. Bryce, was doing a good job. And we were just, pounding it really into those 2 guys. And Kennedy, I'm just realizing this, actually only played 12 minutes, which is, crazy low for him. So, a lot of people talked about by benching those guys, is it Roy trying to send a message? Obviously, with 12 minutes for him, kind of is. And Roy said he wouldn't do it to just one guy. Doesn't want to put all the blame on one guy, which is kind of why JP came off the bench. But as much as Kennedy didn't respond to this game, jumping ahead of the Pitt game, JP Tokoto did not respond in that one coming off the bench. Boston College, a game we should have won, a game we did win. We did allow one of their players, Olivier Hanley, I believe is how you say his name, 30 points. So not great by that standards. Marcus Page in this game, 13 points, 7 rebounds. Yeah, not a lot to say. What I kind of remember of this game is it was on ACC Network, and that did not go well for them. I'll try to put a picture up on the post or on the blog with this, but they had when they were saying that Joel and Theo were out, they had totally wrong person for Joel in his picture. So yeah, this was the first game Joel was back. I thought I'd talked about it, but first game that Joel Berry played since his injury. Totally wrong person there. Shoot, now of course I'm going to forget a lot of what they did but wrong. I know they said the first Duke game that this Monday is the 16th, which would be today. It's the 18th. I mean, they were just, saying wrong people's names, and it wasn't pretty for the ACC network in this one. That's pretty much what I took out of this game the most. Not all that entertaining. And then this past Saturday, so we had a whole week off, all that practice, of course, on Saturday evening. Actually, Sunday mornings when I found out, but Coach Smith had passed away, and so really a lot of the week, and I think they were dealing with that, especially Roy. But they did have a whole week of practice before this Pittsburgh game. They go to Pittsburgh and kind of just lay an egg. Some of it being our defense, some of it being Pittsburgh shooting. This is the first time we had allowed 6 players of the opposing team to score in double figures since I believe it was 2008, which was a Duke team that did it on us. I mean, and again, if you're a big enough fan and if you're listening to this, you probably are, but I mean, they just shot lights out. Pittsburgh shot 61% in the first half, 69% in the second half, 65% for the game. They were like the worst three-point shooting team in the ACC heading in. They had like 8 threes. Well, they had 8 threes for the game. At least 6 of those I know were in the first half. They made their first 7 shots of the second half. And I mean, they were just on fire. And it wasn't even, like 1 or 2 guys that went off on us. It was, like I said, 6 guys in double figures. But looking at their box score, they had one guy, they went 0 for 2. He played 6 minutes. So, he got garbage minute. He was 0 for 2. They had one other guy that was 4 for 7, so just under 50%. Everybody else that played significant minutes was over or at 50%. I mean, they were just killing it. And again, some of that you have to take on us. Our defensive effort was not there. Roy always says urgency definitely wasn't there on the defensive end. We didn't play that bad offensively. We shot, 49% for the game, 54% in the first half, 46% in the second half. So it wasn't horrible by any means for us offensively. It was just we could not get stops, and it wasn't even close. Like in the second half, they got it to 23, and it was a 20-point game for a lot of the game. We were lucky to get down to 13, so it looks respectable for the finish. We lost 89-76. It was like the best the team had shot against a Roy UNC team ever. I mean, you look at our stats, and a lot of those stats would be ones that you would see when we win. We had 31 rebounds, so we out-rebounded them. We had 12 offensive rebounds, 25 assists to just 4 turnovers. I mean, that's crazy. You have 4 turnovers, and you lost the game. I mean, that's nuts. Now, they only had 5, so it's not like, we were killing them with turnover and transitioning into games. And I kind of went off last week about how we're not playing Carolina basketball. We're not getting out in transition. That's supposed to be the style Roy wants to play and all that. And again, this showed it right here. Now, it is harder when the other team's making everything they throw up to get into transition. But it's definitely not the same Tar Heel team we're used to as far as getting into transition. And I know a lot of people said it on Twitter, and we've said it before, but it seems like, the game's way out of reach. We start trapping and stuff like that. We get a few turnovers, and then, we make it respectable. But by that time, it's so far gone, you're just not going to come back in that short amount of time to win it. 3-pointers, we shot horrible. Marcus was 1 for 7. We were 4 for 15 overall. Isaiah and Nate started again. Joel Berry actually started for Nate in the second half. But like I had said, talking about the BC game, JP Tokoto did not respond. He had 4 points, shot 2 for 8, did have 7 rebounds, 3 assists. But you look at it, Joel Berry had 6 assists, 0 turnovers. Marcus Page, 6 assists, 0 turnovers. Justin Jackson, 6 assists, no turnovers. Nate Britt, 2 assists, no turnovers. And when you only have 4, JP had 1 of them. It's, again, not saying good things. Roy was, trying everything. He threw Jackson Simmons out there a few minutes to see if that would energize guys. I don't know. I just, again, they shot the ball so well. So you can't put it all on our defense, but it was really ugly for us, and you definitely have to put some of it for sure on our defense. As far as leading us, Kennedy Meeks had 15 points, only 3 rebounds though. Bryce Johnson, 19 points, only 3 rebounds. JP actually led us with those 7 rebounds. Marcus Page shot 3 for 11. Like I said, 1 for 7 from 3, just 8 points. He had 5 rebounds. We have a pretty balanced, again, talking about stats that you'd like to see and normally lead to a victory. We have very kind of balanced score. Besides 19-15, we got 3 guys at 8, 7, 5, 4. But theirs is just as balanced. They're all double figures, 22, 13, 11, 12, 15, 10, 6. So again, I don't know. Hopefully it's something we can just pass, and maybe it is something with, Coach Smith's passing, that they were just kind of drained mentally, weren't all into it that kind of way or whatever. I don't know. But we're not going to spend a ton of time trying to break down that game, because although it does affect us badly, it puts us into tied for 5th in the ACC right now with Louisville, which I believe, as far as the standings I'm looking at, they're still ahead of us because of overall record. So they're going to get that tiebreaker. So we're in 5th place. The top 4 teams in the ACC get the double bye in the tournament, the ACC tournament, which would be good to have. So we're kind of fighting right now. We got 6 games left, 2 of them against Duke. Of course, 2 of them are against Georgia Tech as well. But we're 8-4 in the ACC right now. I'm not going to predict we lose both games to Duke, but that would put us at 6 losses in the ACC right then. Plus, we play at Miami. We got NC State at home, which is a rivalry game. So we definitely have some work to do to get into that top 4 of the ACC heading into the tournament to get that double bye. So yeah, I don't want to spend a lot of time on Pitt, as I've said too many times already. So put those games behind us. I won't take a week off of podcasting. Hopefully that was the jinx and won't happen again. And we'll move on. Of course, that means it is, I don't know if ESPN is saying it, but rivalry week. We got, of course, the Blue Devils on Wednesday. I'm hyped. I'm ready. Hopefully everybody that is a Tar Heel fan is wearing Carolina blue every day this week. I don't have to deal with a lot of it. Everybody in North Carolina has to deal with those Duke fans. So hopefully you're wearing it every day and getting hyped. On the blog, I put up a hype video from the ACC Digital Network. Definitely worth checking out. Not that you need any fuel to get you hyped or whatever you want to say for this game, but great watch there. Go check it out on the blog, unchoopstalk.blogspot.com. Again, it's in the description below. But yeah, pulled out the fedora today and definitely hyped up. Also, shameless plug on Vine. I've done one video already, but I'm going to be throwing out just some UNC Duke highlights from obviously past years and all those big bloody highlights that we have against that team down the street. And so definitely go follow me on Vine. You can on Vine just search All Tar Heel Dan. Otherwise, again, the links in description below. or also Twitter, because all the vines go right up to Twitter. You can check them out there as well. But yeah, the Duke game is this Wednesday. We got a lot of work to do. Kind of jump into how I think we're going to do, what's going to happen, that kind of stuff. So first of all, as far as North Carolina, what's wrong? I'm not even going to begin really to try to guess what's wrong. People have kind of brought up, is there dissension or problems in the locker room? There was a few games back, Marcus made comments after the game about not everybody buying in or whatever. Roy came out and said, isn't looking into it, not worried about that kind of stuff. Really, the only thing that worries me, that if there is a possibility of something wrong in the locker room, is the way JP has kind of responded. I mean, he's a junior, should be kind of in a leadership role, kind of accept responsibility if he doesn't show up or whatever. If he's got to come off the bench, he's got to just buy in, bite the bullet, and get better, whatever it is, because we do need him, especially with Theo out. Theo's kind of the only person that could really replace him if we were going to try to do that. But we need his athleticism. We need his defense. Don't always need his shot selection, but that's again just something by junior year he needs to know what shots he should be taking and things like that. And we've talked about that in the past. I don't want to spend a ton of time on that, but just the way he's responding, it's like, is he the one not buying in? Is he causing problems? I know I've heard behind the story, and I don't have great sources or anything like that. I'm not trying to claim anything like this, so I'm not going to say too much, but just kind of heard stuff that he's different. We'll just say not as high character as like a Marcus, Justin Jackson, that kind of stuff. So is there stuff, they're not getting along or not, clicking, connecting, whatever in the locker room? I don't want to jump to conclusions, say there is, or that I know anything or anything like that. But that would be the only thing that worries me about that kind of stuff. But again, hopefully it's just kind of the mental drain that it took with all the questions about Coach Smith and, his passing and having people around the offices, the gyms, whatever, and always asking about that. Hopefully, we just kind of push it behind us and we move on. Shouldn't have to say anything or do anything to get up for the Duke game, but it does worry me. Obviously, it's at Cameron. I really wish it was at Chapel Hill for the first game, and then the senior night was at Duke this year, because we don't have any big seniors that we're sending off this year. We know Roy is going to start those seniors. This team does not come from behind well. Doesn't close out games well. We've talked about that on the podcast. So if we get behind, what's going to happen at that game? So yeah, I kind of wish this game was at Chapel Hill, but we haven't played great on the road. I don't know if we stolen any games on the road. Maybe Notre Dame, right? No, we didn't even play Notre Dame at their place. I don't know. I don't think we have any big road games. Ohio State was neutral. Yeah, I don't know. As far as big road games that we've won, so that kind of worries me. How are these guys going to respond inside Cameron? The other thing is, who's going to stop Okafor? Obviously, Meeks is big enough to bang around, not quick enough. Okafor is pretty quick. Bryce is not smart enough defensively. Isaiah Hicks may be our best effort, besides, of course, just having lots of big guys. Of course, Desmond Hubert being out with injury now. If you haven't heard, they announced he's out with ACL, done for really his career since he's a senior. So there goes 5 fouls. But we do have, Joel James's 5 fouls. You don't want to say this about starters, but Bryce and Hicks and Meeks, a lot of fouls there. But really, our best bet is to go at him, and that's again where JP would come into play with his athleticism, driving at him, getting him in foul trouble. But that's really what we need, is get him in foul trouble. But really, even Winslow on the wing, I don't know who we really put on him. Justin Jackson's not strong enough, not a good enough defender. JP is probably our best bet on him, but do we want JP on a shooter? So a lot of question marks, and I'm definitely not going to say I have the answers. You guys know that by now. I've been wrong before. I'll be wrong again. They don't pay me to do this. So at least not yet. That's coming, right? But yeah, just so many questions. Obviously, we're going to put our trust in Roy. Hopefully the guys are hyped. We've seen it before where, Duke's #1 and we're not ranked, or we're ranked way above them. And really, rankings don't matter. Records don't matter. Players don't matter. This is the North Carolina-Duke rivalry. And you throw all that stuff out the window. You throw the ball up and you play. So hopefully that comes into play. I put it up on Google Plus and Twitter. Right, not a lot of faith in Tar Heel Nation that we're going to pull this off, but maybe that means the guys, hang together and pull it off. But yeah, we'll see. It stinks. We've lost 3 of the last 4 games. This would be 4 out of 5 if we lose to them. It would put us at 8-5 in the ACC. Again, looking at records, then Syracuse is 7-5 right now. We wouldn't be tied with Louisville anymore if they won their games this week. So yeah, not that North Carolina and Duke aren't always a big game, but really for us, fighting that 4th spot's a really big game. So it'll be tough to swallow if we don't pull it off. We'll just have to kind of see what happens. Of course, I would love to hear your predictions, your score. And another thing that we have to do, of course, it's Duke. They're going to chuck up a bunch of threes. We got to make sure we're tight on Cook. We don't want him to get started. If he starts throwing stuff up contested and is missing and keeps throwing it up, great. But we let him open and he's going to knock stuff down. Really, even Matt Jones can knock it down if he's going to be open. Tyus Jones can knock it down if we're going to leave him open. Even Grayson Allen, I haven't looked at their stats really at all, but I don't know how many minutes he's getting. But he can knock down threes. So the way we allowed Pitt to get open threes and knock them down, we really need to fix that and make sure that's not happening against Duke. Sorry, I missed the beat. Duke. There's probably more I've missed. I apologize for that. I know you don't want to hear that word at all this week. So yeah, leave a comment or hit me up on Twitter, wherever you're on social media. Let me know. Give me your prediction, score, why you think the Tar Heels can pull it off, and yeah, I'd also again, just love to connect with you. So make sure that you connect with me. Again, every place to connect with me is down in the description below. Appreciate you sharing this out, liking this, subscribing wherever you're watching this. We gotta unite as Tar Heel Nation. If we can't do it now, when can we do it? So we gotta make sure we're doing that stuff and getting ready for a Duke game. Again, follow me on Vine. I'll be throwing out a bunch of Vines with old UNC Duke highlights, and got to enjoy this week. We got to get pumped up to beat the Blue Devils, and trying to think. I don't think there's anything else that I've missed. It's time. It's Duke week, so. Yeah, that's about all I got. I'll definitely not take a week off, so that no more jinxes on this end. And yeah, connect with me, Unite Tar Heel Nation. Hit me up on any of the social medias. Look in the description for those. Other than that, until next week, go Heels and beat Duke.